You can hear a bit of noise, which is clearly vibration. So checking out the chassis, what I would recommend, if you haven't got some, is that you get hold of these little not jack to jack, crocodile clip to crocodile clip leads. Direct train spares in Burnley were doing some. You can get a pack of 8 or so for a couple of pounds. So it means taking all the motion off again after you've carefully assembled it and got it on, because what I'm doing is just running in the front bearings there, but I think you can see a little bit of wheel wobble on that one. No wheel wobble on that other one. That's a little bit worrying. Don't particularly want wheel wobble. I've now freed off that other bearing so that spins reasonably well. So we can turn it off. But I thought it was spinning reasonably well. Well, that's not as well as you want. You want it just with the mass of that wheel, you want it to spin very well. And the question I'm asking myself is, do I take one of the side frames off and put washers between the side of the wheel and the side of the side frame, or do I leave those and just put washers behind the crank part here to reduce some of the play so it doesn't push all the way to the side and bind against the frames. But binding against the frames isn't the issue actually, it's friction. So it's a matter of getting those bearings really smooth. They are lubricated and I have cleaned out the paint from them, but I need to find out what that vibration is. So a few things to do in order to get the basic chassis running well. Once I've got both pairs of wheels running freely, obviously you can't turn that one against the worm. It's a matter of unless I unscrewed the motor again and took it off, it's a matter of turning it with the motor to run that one in. Then I can start reassembling the cranks and the con rods and then the piston rods, etc., while trying to keep it running freely. This is possible whilst the paint dries on the other parts. So in between sorting out the chassis, I can sand and put on a coat of paint onto the body. I'm doing some Loctiting. So initially I'm putting a drop of super glue underneath the head of the bolt that goes through the crank. So I've done it on those bolts. I'm just going to do it on that, then wind the screw in, and then later I'll put a drop of super glue onto the nut so the nut doesn't come off, because you don't want it all falling apart. So it's locking these bolts into the cranks to start with, let that dry off so you don't get any on the bearings, and then later a tiny drop to lock the nuts onto the bolts. While I'm tweaking and adjusting the motion, I nearly lost one of the top hat bearings. So what I'm doing now is just adding a tiny dab of super glue to hold them in. So if I do take them off, or if the nuts, which I do intend to super glue on, come loose at some point, I'm not going to lose that top hat bearing.